Welcome to Graveyard Mile, where the past never stays buried, and every story has a chill waiting for you. If you love late-night mysteries, haunted places, and spine-tingling legends, you're in the right place. Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a walk through the shadows.
The train hissed like a wounded animal as it pulled into Ravenshade Station. Mist curled around the platform, swallowing the edges of the world. Through it stepped Hazel Monroe, clutching her backpack as if it were a lifeline. The air smelled of iron and rain. It was the kind of place where the sky always seemed to forget the color blue. A woman stood near the end of the platform, wrapped in a moss-green shawl. "Hazel," she called softly, her voice rough but kind. "You've grown." "Hi, Grandma Margot." Hazel's words came out small, dampened by the fog and her own nerves. Margot took her bag and led her toward the narrow road where an old car waited. The headlights flickered, like they were afraid to shine too brightly in this town. On the ride, they passed rows of decaying houses with porches that slumped like tired shoulders. Old signs creaked in the wind: Briar Hollow Antiques, Ethel's Bakery, Warren Funeral Home. Everything looked like it had been built for another century. "You'll like the woods," she said suddenly. "They're full of stories, though some are better left untold." Hazel watched the trees blur by, tall, pale trunks wrapped in fog. She thought she saw something dart between them. Maybe a deer, maybe not. Grandma's house sat at the edge of the forest, a crooked Victorian covered in ivy. A wooden plaque by the door read, "Monroe, 1886. Inside, it smelled of pine and old paper. Books were stacked everywhere, under lamps, on stairs, even on the piano. "Your father loved this place," Margot said as she set Hazel's bag down in the guest room. "Used to spend hours in those woods. Said he could hear them talking." "Did you ever hear them talk?" Margot smiled, but her eyes looked far away. "Once or twice, but that was a long time ago." Dinner was quiet. The clock ticked too loudly, and the wind outside sounded almost like whispering. Afterward, Margot lit a candle in a small glass lantern. "Keep this in your room tonight," she said. "The power goes out sometimes." Hazel climbed into bed, the blanket scratchy but warm. She listened to the forest through the cracked window, leaves rustling, a distant owl, something like laughter. High-pitched, quick, not human. She sat up. "Grandma?" No answer. The laughter came again, this time closer. Hazel slid out of bed, her heart thudding. The candle flickered, as if reacting to something unseen. She crossed to the window. Through the fog, the woods shimmered faintly, like something was moving just beyond the tree line. Then she saw it. Two small white eyes glinting among the shadows, and below them a wide, toothy grin. The smile vanished when she blinked. The fog hadn't lifted by morning. Hazel found her grandmother already in the garden, pruning dead branches. "You didn't go outside last night, did you?" she asked without turning. "Why?" Her grandmother hesitated. "Sometimes the woods play tricks." Hazel didn't reply. She kept seeing that grin in her mind, those pale eyes that seemed to look right through the glass. Later, she unpacked in the attic room that faced the forest. There were boxes labeled Daniel's Things, her father's name. She opened one. Inside were sketchbooks, brittle with age. The drawings were strange, trees with faces, children dancing in circles, and in the corner of one page, a small creature with long ears and a grin too wide for its face. It looked exactly like what she'd seen last night. Underneath the sketchbook was a note written in her father's handwriting. "If you see him, don't run. He remembers who believes." Hazel stared at the words until the letters seemed to move. A faint giggle came from behind her. She spun around. Nothing there. Only the curtain swaying though the window was shut. By afternoon, Hazel couldn't stop thinking about the creature. Her grandmother was napping downstairs. The forest hummed outside, alive with a kind of silence that invited curiosity. She slipped on her boots and stepped out the back door. The air grew colder with every step. The trees were ancient, gnarled, their bark etched with strange patterns that looked like eyes and mouths. Moss carpeted everything. The deeper she went, the quieter it became. No birds, no insects, only her own breathing. Something moved again. A giggle echoed to her left. "Hello?" she called. "Is someone there?" A pine cone hit her shoulder. She turned. Nothing. Then another fell near her feet, rolling in a small circle as if pushed by invisible hands. She crouched, picked it up. The pine cone grinned. Hazel gasped and dropped it. The sound that followed was unmistakable. Laughter, wild and bright. A blur shot through the trees, too fast to see clearly. Hazel chased it, half terrified, half thrilled. She stumbled into a clearing and froze. Before her stood an abandoned fairground. Rusted rides leaned like skeletons. The carousel horses were cracked and eyeless, their paint peeling away in flakes. Faded banners read, "Merry Gloam Fair, 1962. And in the center of it all, perched on a broken ticket booth, sat the creature. He was small, no taller than Hazel's knees, with straw-colored fur, enormous bat-like ears, and a grin filled with tiny, jagged teeth. His eyes glowed faintly gold in the gloom. He tilted his head as if amused that she had found him. Hazel's voice shook. "You're real!" The creature blinked slowly, then hopped down. He made a sound like a laugh crossed with a hiccup. "Real!" he echoed, his accent twisted, childlike. Hazel nodded. "What are you?" He pointed at himself proudly. "Labubu!"